Hey, welcome to the Sharing Jesus podcast, where we share stories, awesome ministry moments, and everything in between. Today, we have a very special episode for you guys. We have two of our students here in our student ministry, Layton, Baugh, and Eli Cowden. And if you do not know them, Layton is a 10th grader, a sophomore at Bryant High School, and Eli is an 11th grader, a junior at Benton High School. These two schools, yes, are very much rivals, but these two guys are very close, best friends. How are y'all doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Glad to be here and ready to see what we start talking about.
Layton, you excited?
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
So this is their first podcast, and just a disclaimer before we dive into this, we haven't really got a title for this yet. We're shooting this on a Wednesday before church. These guys are heavily involved in our church. Layton, actually, they both serve on our worship team. Eli plays the guitar and Layton plays the drums. And so today, we're going to talk about life from a high schooler perspective. So it's 2022. We're shooting this for anybody's perspective. If you're listening to this, it is May 4th, 2022.
Hey, May the 4th be with you.
That's right.
Yes,
that's today.
yes.
I didn't even know that was today.
For all the Star Wars fans out there.
Yeah. I could say I'm like half a Star Wars fan.
Yes.
Like, I watch it, but I'm not like geeked out like some people are.
I mean, I've watched one movie. Don't even remember what it was called. But hey,
It was Star Wars. You knew that.
I'm a Star Wars fan for that. Yeah.
You either dress up at the movies or you don't. It's two
And I'm in
crowds.
between.
But anyway, so just to get to know these guys, Layton, tell us about yourself. Tell us your hobbies. What do you like to do, man?
Well, I'm actually a pretty simple guy. I mean,
He's
I used-
decked out in Nike right now.
yeah,
Nike shirt,
completely
jacket.
decked out. I'm actually just ready for tonight after church.
Yeah, we're going to trampoline park.
Fake
yeah.
leather phone case.
Yeah. Actually, I used to play basketball, and Bryant really did. They got big, and basketball team got really stacked, is what we would call it.
Yeah.
And gonna be honest, did not make the team, and kind of moved into rodeoing and ranching, which is what I've always liked. So basically, right now I calf rope, team rope, and a little thing called ribbon roping that I really, really enjoy.
So
Have
like
a great time doing it.
basketball, and I knew this because we're really close, and I poured into you a lot, and we played a lot of basketball together.
Oh, yeah.
So you transitioning from that love of basketball to rodeoing and stuff, was it a hard transition, or was it something you felt like it's weird to talk about because it's basketball and like rodeo, it's not really ministry related.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it was a door got open for you?
I really think it was, because we were driving home from the beach last year, actually, and it was like 9 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
and we were riding, and I was sitting there thinking about it, and I'd prayed about it a little bit, just because it's a big decision, because my dad played a lot, and he always wants me to play, and so I was like, man, I've always liked rodeoing and all that, and ranching and being around horses and stuff, and he was like, I totally understand, and I was like, whether I make the basketball team or don't, I think that I'm going to pursue rodeoing from now on.
Okay.
Because I was like, I like it, I love it, and
So I didn't know that. So you had already decided, like, I want to do this whether or not I make the team.
yes,
Okay.
yes, definitely.
So if you would have made the team, your first priority would have been rodeos, right?
Yes, it would have,
I'm
but
surprised I didn't know that.
But my first priority would have been rodeos deep down inside, but I would obviously would not have missed a practice. Because like my dad says, if you're going to do something, you're going to put 100% effort into it.
Right. And if you know anything about clay ball, is like, you're going to commit to it. And if you want to give up, I'm sorry, you just got to finish the year.
Yeah. You get in the class, you don't get out till you're done.
Well,
So,
Eli,
yeah.
I know you have some different hobbies.
You could say they're different. So I'm about 6'4", which is not the ideal type for a golfer, but that is what I do.
Yeah.
I work a job on the weekends out at the golf course, and that's basically it. Is golf, school, and hunting and fishing. That's about it for me.
People say it all the time. I'm sure y'all hear it from the older people. It's like, man, if I could just be in high school again. Do y'all like have an idea or understand like how simple your life is right now?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I don't want to leave high school.
Definitely, yes. Like, I will say, I talked about it today with my friends, and as a group, we kind of had a realization that last year in 9th grade, we thought we had 800 years of school left.
Right.
We literally hit this year, and we talking about today, we were like, we literally have 2 years of school left.
Yeah.
And then we're in college, which is a whole different world.
Yep.
And so now we feel like we're just running out of time.
Yeah.
And we want to be in
Which
high school.
Eli's a grade ahead of you, and I know you already made some college visits and stuff. So
Yeah, we were actually talking about it today also. I've got a senior buddy that likes to play the guitar a lot, and they had to turn their MacBooks in today, which their last day is this Friday.
Oh, all the school books that the school gives them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they turned them in, and he got into my class with me, and he just told me, like, he was like, wow, this is it.
Yeah.
And then that kind of made me realize, like, next year is it.
That's
Right.
it. Yeah.
Like, I'm gone. Like, I will probably never see those seniors ever again in my life.
Right. I know. I remember me and my dad, we have a thing, and we went this year. We always went and watched the high school state finals basketball in Arkansas in Hot Springs.
Yep.
And me and Dad went one year, and I was like, I was 2 years out of high school, and I was like, gosh, man, I miss basketball so much. And Dad was like, my dad, if you know him, he grew up playing basketball. He played all through high school.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, well, you know, I'm 50 something, and I'm still miss it the same.
Yeah. Me and my dad had that same thing. He's like, I'm 45, and I love to play it as much as, if not more, than you want to play it right now.
Right. Well, Eli, we'll start with you. Just share your brief testimony of, you know, both of you both grew up in church, have strong Christian families, and y'all serve at church, but just your brief testimony of when you accepted Christ as your Savior.
So basically, I was at school all day. It was on 9/11. So that whole day, it was 2014, and I was sitting in class, and y'all probably don't know if you're listening, but in school, whenever it's 9/11, you learn about it in every single class. It gets really repetitive, really boring. But I was sitting through it, and they eventually played one of the most played videos from the actual attack. And it was the video of the second plane hitting the second tower.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of shot a thought through my head that, I mean, it could happen like that. So it was kind of ironic that happened, because that got me thinking. And like Caleb said, I grew up in church. I'd go every single Sunday that I could, which at that time, our whole family was prioritizing baseball ahead of church, which is not what we were supposed to do, but we did it anyways. So whenever I got home, my mom actually just bought me the daily devotional book for teenagers, and we did the devotional that night at 7 o'clock, and at the end of every devotional in that book, there's a prayer at the bottom of it that it tells you to read out. You don't got to read it right off the book, but I was young, I didn't know what I was doing, so I thought I'll just say it out loud right off the book, and I'll just read the page. And I can't tell you exactly what it said, but it said something along the lines of, if you were to die today, where would you go? Which was ironic because, I mean, it was 9/11, and that I had that thought that went through my head at school. So that got me thinking, and I went back to my room, laid down, couldn't go to sleep for 30 minutes, got back up, and opened that devotional book again and went to the next one. And then the next prayer said the same thing. And I was just, right then and there, felt something on my heart and went back into my room, told my parents, and it went on from there. Got baptized at Holland Chapel.
That's awesome. And Layton, did you've always gone to Sharon, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
Y'all have been plugged into Sharon probably since 3 or 4 years?
This will be 4 years.
It feels like eternity.
Yeah.
But
Well, it really, to me, it feels like we've only been here for like a year.
Yeah.
It really does.
It's gone by fast.
Which is crazy because, like, sometimes I'll be talking about something and I'll be like, yeah, I remember that. I'm like, no, what? And you're like, how do you remember that? And he's like, I've been here that long.
Yeah.
Well, it's like we've been coming here for 4 years, but me and Layton, like Caleb said, we're best friends, but we didn't even talk to each other the first 2 years that I was coming here.
Yeah.
Because we met at Reality Weekend in the groups that we were in the youth room.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Reality Weekend is the first, like, actual, not in a weird way, but first memory I have with you.
Yeah.
Like, before Reality Weekend, I knew you. Like, I knew you were around maybe, but, like, Reality Weekend was the first time that ever happened.
Well, Layton, tell us real quick, just your brief testimony.
About the average cup of Joe, honestly. I mean, it's pretty simple. So basically, I'm 7 years old, and I 7 years old, and been growing up in church all my life, coming before I was born, basically, in my mama's belly. And so I have a friend, and her name is Kayla Brown, which some of you might know. And we were in Sparks, Awana Sparks.
Oh, good old Awana.
Oh, yeah.
I
And
remember those days.
she got up at the front, and everybody's like, got a big announcement. And she gets up there, and she's like, I got saved. And everybody's going nuts. And me, I'm up there clapping you got saved.
Don't even know why you're clapping.
I'm like, dude, that fool ride must have been awesome or something. And I was thinking, she about hit a tree or something. And she's like, I just felt like it needed to be done, and I was ready for it. And Lord called my heart and got saved. And I was like, that's not what I thought it was. So I think it's about 2 days after, went home, and somewhere around that. And Dad was mowing the yard, which for him is a big deal. Mowing the yard is a big deal for a dad. So I stop him in the middle. He's already angry at me. He's
man.
Why are you stopping my mowing process?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to get saved. And I kid you not, I'm almost positive that he says, turn around, go play. And he puts it in drive and continues mowing. That's about as close as it gets to
I
it.
see that from Clay, though.
I can easily see that.
And now looking back on it, I'm like, that's exactly what he should have done, because I had literally no idea what he's talking about. And I still think to this day that I don't think he could have poured into me and made me understand it other than I was going to die.
How old were you?
7.
I was the same age.
So,
but anyway.
Which is crazy now looking back on it, that 4 or 5 days, maybe a week after, I started thinking about it a lot.
Oh,
And
so he held you off for a while.
he held me off, yeah. And I
Okay.
was but I started thinking about it while he was doing it, which is crazy, because he's trying to not keeping me from it,
Right.
but
Yeah, no.
not letting me get into it. But
He's
I got into it
making you learn it on your own.
yeah, and I straight up got into it by myself. And I was in my room one night, and I started praying all by myself there. And I was like, well, maybe my parents need to be in here for this. So I went and got them, and we talked for probably seemed like an hour and a half probably. And we just talked about it, and we prayed, and I prayed, and accepted the Lord, come to my heart. I've been saved since I was 7. And I don't remember the date. I could probably tell you the year based on math, but I don't remember the date or nothing.
Right.
because-
Well, yeah, that's one of the only reasons I remember the date.
I remember mine was on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
I remember the day of the week. But anyway, so we're going to dive into what we're going to talk about today, and it's
Perfect.
life perspective from a high schooler, just, about school. And I want to start with a quote today I read on Twitter. And a reminder, it's Wednesday. But anyway, if you don't know Shane Pruitt, you should follow him on social media. Awesome guy. But anyway, he tweeted this morning. He said, tonight, many student pastors and leaders will stand before the least religious generation, Gen Z, which is what we are in this room, in the U.S.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
I heard my knuckles pop, and then I looked at him, and he started smiling, and that got in my head.
We're good. Keep on going.
I'm going to go.
We'll just edit that part out.
Yeah, I can.
I say we keep it in.
We'll see. But anyway, tonight many student pastors and leaders will stand before the least religious generation, Gen Z, which is us in this room, in the U.S., and proclaim and teach the Word of God tonight on Wednesday night. So pray for them. They're missionaries going after a very strategic mission field and group of people. And so the mission field and group of people we're going to talk about today is high schoolers.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I have some experience with high schooling.
yeah, let's talk about, y'all's approach to school is right now, and you don't have to, we're going to be real and honest. What is your approach daily at school?
As far as, I think that's a little too broad,
Too vague?
Honestly.
What is your approach as far as the gospel every day at school? And your answer can be, it's hard, it's impossible.
Yeah.
Well, my approach is almost kind of laid back because, I don't know how Brian is. I'm assuming it's probably worse than Ben just because of how many people go there. But people get offended so easily now. It's insane. Even teachers get offended by the smallest stuff that you'll say. and I don't want to say something and then make a big deal out of it, and then me, for some reason, get sent to the office or sent here, sent there, or whatever.
Right.
And it's hard to...
Would you say in your high schools, Bryant graduating 700-800-ish, maybe more, in a grade?
Golly,
Right,
I
upwards to
wish.
1,000.
Yeah. And then Benton's, it's sixes.
500, 600.
600. So, like, would you say, though, there's probably less Christians than non-Christians?
Yes.
Oh, 100.
100%.
For Bryant, at least, yeah. And
Yes.
I probably for Benton, too.
So let's go ahead and make this the staple of the episode.
Okay.
School is a huge mission field.
Oh, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. And so as we talk about y'all's approach, so would y'all consider yourself outcast, and why?
So, I kind of looked over the script before we came,
Yeah.
and I was in the car, or my sister kind of read it off to me. And honestly, at school, everyone is, or at least for the way I see it, everyone is pretty understandable. There's a difference between being don't want nothing to do with it and being understandable. I think a lot of kids at school are understandable, and when you tell someone they're a Christian or you're a Christian, they understand that and they see where you're coming from. And because we're in America, Christianity is number one religion.
And just to hop on that too, and we're in Arkansas. We're kind of in the
we're
Bible Belt.
Yeah. And so, like, when you say you're a Christian, even the most non-Christian people, they accept that and they understand that. And so,
Which, to go off that, the way the culture has changed so much, we're not necessarily in the Bible Belt, we're in the church belt. There's lots of churches, so it's normal for there to be Christians around.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
there are a lot of non-Christians.
Yeah.
Well, and it's slowly dwindling down, too. I mean,
Yeah.
slowly, but it's still shrinking
Yeah.
because of...
So what's it look like to be a Christian in high school?
So when you tell somebody you're a Christian, they're like, yeah, they accept it. And then you go on, and honestly, it feels nothing like an outcast. It really doesn't. You might be pictured as an outcast, but you don't feel like one. I don't walk through the schools and feel like I'm getting stared at as I'm walking through the hallway. I don't feel like I stand out. And when I come to school, I'm not dressed any differently than anybody else.
Even if, like, you wore a shirt that said, I love Jesus.
Yeah, even my Reality Weekend shirt that I wear at church, or
Yeah.
my any of my Sharon Missionary Baptist Church shirts, the compliments or even the put downs that I get from wearing a shirt, those still don't affect how I see myself. It's not that I see myself as somebody different at school. I just don't let that affect who I am at all, and therefore I don't think being an outcast is.
I don't think an outcast would necessarily be the right term.
Yeah,
for that.
and misfit might even be strong to use that. I
Yeah.
think it's you're just
I don't even know
you're
what
just
that
a different
means.
color block in the puzzle. Honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, but no one cares because there's a million other color blocks in the puzzle.
Well, then, do you think that does it go on in your head that people judge you though?
Oh, definitely. You like
It depends on what, like, I'm
Well, first
doing.
they got to know
yeah,
Right.
who you are and what you believe.
Yeah, and when you like for example, we have somebody at our school, and he is probably the most profound and known Christian in the whole school because he will walk up to you in the most awkward way and tell you that Jesus will love you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm talking in the middle of class, he will walk up while teacher's talking. He will stand up, walk over to you, bend over, whisper in your ear, and go, "Jesus loves you," and then go sit back down.
Wow.
And it's that kind of stuff that's like, maybe we should be doing that, maybe, but it just kind of breaks the flow, you know.
We were
And
talking about it yesterday in staff meeting about your generation, this generation, Gen Z, how fast culture changes.
Oh yeah.
Because you look at, like, you just said the phrase, should we be doing that? Or, like, is that something we should do? And then, like, you say, well, let's look at Bible, for example. Let's look at Scripture and see if we can get some insight on how to live more like a Christian. And then we see things the disciples did or what they went through. And you're like, oh, my gosh, they just, like, they gave everything for Christ, no matter what. So you take that, for instance, that kid who just stands up middle of the class, tells somebody, hey, Jesus loves you. Like,
Yeah.
should we be doing that? But, like, the way to communicate also in this culture changes.
Yeah. And so in class, that's not the way. For me, that I don't see that as the way to communicate that Jesus loves you.
Right.
I really don't. Because so say he does it to some girl who's sitting there, not because he likes her or whatever. He just goes over to there and tells her that, kind of randomly. Now she feels embarrassed and she doesn't want anything to do with him because now he just publicly embarrassed her in class. So that's nothing wrong with that, other than that's just kind of different the way I see it.
Let's, Eli, and you can start off on this. Let's shift to the topic of Christians who also maybe drink, maybe party, may I don't know the right phrase to use, but we're just going to say LGBTQ, all that stuff.
I've got a ton of friends that are like that. Which
what does that like? What's that portray?
Like at school?
Yeah.
Well, like how do they act at school? Is that what you're trying to ask?
Yeah, just like, maybe they say they're Christian too, but also do all
Christians that fall for the world.
For example, this girl today in my 4th block class, so we had like 5 minutes left and then we got to leave. And I said, "Are you going to church tonight?" Can't remember where they go, but I asked her if she was going to church. She said yes. And I said, "Have you been going every Wednesday and Sunday?" She said yes. And I said, "Well, that's good. What have you learned?" And she said, "Well, I don't really know." And I said, "Okay," and she is the type of person that will have a vape in her bra and like go out on the weekends and drink and have sex and all that crap.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
And so I asked her what she learned, and she said, "I don't know." And I said, "Well, then why are you going?" And she said,
That could be something we get into later, but anyway, continue.
I said, "Why are you going?" And she said, "Well, I'm going to learn about Jesus." And I said, "Okay, then what have you learned?" And she froze up. And then I said, like, not being mean to her, I was just talking to her because she's one of my friends in that class, and I just said, there's no point in going if you're going for the wrong reasons. If you're going for to see your friends, I mean, if you're going there to go get in the car with somebody afterwards and then go hook up with them, going to drink afterwards, going to do whatever, then, I mean, you're going for the wrong reason and you're not getting anything out of it. So what's the point of you even going?
Yeah. So, I mean, would y'all agree that, like, partying, being gay, trying to fit this mold, lesbian, bisexual, all these things is more popular than being a Christian in school?
No.
It's not.
Well,
no.
I don't think it depends on the definition of popular, because popular is that everyone knows about it. So everyone knows who's gay. Everyone knows who is doing the bad stuff.
It's clear, and I'm not saying this to make fun of anybody, but it's clear who is gay at our school and who's a lesbian and whatever 86 other genders there are. But, like, there'll be kids, like yesterday, there was a kid walking around that had, like, it looked like he got a sweatshirt and then spray painted it the pride flag or gay flag, whatever you call it. And then there's another guy, it's a guy, wants to be a girl, and he wears just the most random stuff every day, has his hair dyed, has a choker, is that what they're called?
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't even look normal, but to them that is normal. I also don't understand the cat ears thing. Like, I don't think that's from being gay.
Yeah, we don't have to get into that. That's kind of a thing right now. I heard about it with people claiming they're animals and not human beings. But so let's, as we continue, how could things be better?
As far as
in school, how could things be better?
What do you mean by better?
Well, like, this is Sharing Jesus podcast. For Jesus, for the gospel, for the ministry, how could things be better?
Well, in the past year, I've noticed is that you can literally, I know it's very cliche for the term bullying, is that some big old guy throws some skinny little kid up against a locker and picks his pockets for money. That's bullying, in quotation marks. And
that is bullying.
It is. It's just that's the cliche version. But at Bryant High School, you could do that between every class period with the teacher watching, and nothing would happen to either person.
Really?
I mean, you could throw somebody against a locker and nothing would happen. But as soon as you throw a punch, you have the SWAT team all over you. Mm-hmm. And so, like, what I said is what I've said before, even to teachers and stuff. I'm like, just enforcing the no bullying policy would help a lot of kids out personally and mentally, just because that kids don't get thrown against lockers, but kids get bullied and people notice it and no one does anything about it. But it's not like it used to be.
But I think we could all agree that most of the bullying nowadays goes on your phone.
Yeah.
No, cyber, yes. Easily.
Text, social media,
And-
Snapchat, TikTok.
And now most people don't care to go up to somebody and bully them.
Right.
They don't care enough. They'd rather look at their friends and go, "You see them over there? That's a
Right.
weirdo." And even that's bullying. But no one can do anything about that. But yeah, over phones. But that's kind of a tough conversation in Bryant because I know for a fact bullying goes on in Bryant, but it's really hard because 90% of the people who are getting bullied are the LGBTQ kids who are still rejecting like my invitations to church. They're rejecting any sort of like
Help.
Other
Christ's
advice.
love. Yes, they reject all of it, and then they
Probably not
complain.
even Christian advice,
They
too.
complain to the teachers and tell our teachers that they're about to commit suicide because
Right.
they're getting bullied. But even the teachers, well, maybe if you maybe work on this, coming to me after school, but they reject all help and then
Right.
they complain.
As we're talking about social media,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to kind of shift the topic and kind of wrap up the episode, but it's a percentage question, okay? And y'all give your own percentage.
Okay.
How much goes on social media with high schoolers that parents don't know about?
How much goes on social media?
Ooh.
Oh, 80 to 20. 80% parents don't know.
No, you don't have to say in second percent, but just how much goes on social media that parents don't know about. I
Hey.
do believe, because our church has social medias, I do believe social media can be used for good in
100%.
ministry and outreach. But how much of effect does that have on a high schooler?
Like
As
bad,
far as
bad
social
effect,
media or good social
Just
media?
social media in general. How
It
much
has
does it
about-
affect?
It affects about 90% of their stuff, which is why I think 98% of the stuff on a teenager's phone in high school, their parents do not know about.
Okay.
I really think those are the numbers.
That's
not
good.
that they are, but I think that's what they are because,
And we're going to disregard the parent that actually goes through a teenager's phone.
Because there's about
every
one in
single night.
90 kids at
Yeah.
Bryant High School. Their parents run through their phone
Right,
every week.
right.
But for the other kids, these kids are showing stuff and doing stuff, and it's not even bad stuff. It's just like, okay, dude, that you don't have to show me that, and that don't have to be on your phone either.
Yeah.
It's like, and you can tell by looking at them,
Just
their
like
parents do
just
not
stupid
know
TikToks and stuff.
The parents don't care,
Yeah.
so they would never.
That's
They
part.
were
That
never-
is. I will give them that. That's part of the reason why I think the LGBT kids,
What's up,
whoever,
Rob? Rob's looking through the window.
whoever it is, that's part of the reason why they're at the place they're at. Not all of them. Some
Whether-
of them do
yeah.
have good parents, and those kids just don't want to listen to them for
whether
whatever
it's
reason.
whether it's really two, bad parenting or no parenting. It's one of the two. Because good parents, kids do not. My family does not.
Rob's taking notes.
My family does not walk around licking the back of their ears and peeing in litter boxes.
Right.
Yeah.
No. And so you're saying like parents don't know about. What'd you say? 98%.
I think
of
it's 98. Parents don't know about 98% of the stuff that goes on their kid's phone. 100%. Whether it's good or bad stuff. Doesn't
Right.
matter.
And so you would say it's detrimental to social
Definitely.
media.
And 98% of that has a 95% effect on the kid.
Which and
like,
also
outlook on
all it
life.
is nowadays, which you know it. You don't. You have Instagram Reels, so you probably know it. I don't know what Rob has. He's in the room now.
Now that
but,
he's in the room.
But on TikTok, most of the stuff, not most of it, probably 50% of the stuff that's on the For You page or like recommended,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it, that you just scroll through it. It's just not right stuff, but people like that stuff.
It's garbage,
They'll,
yeah.
They'll like that stuff, and that's making it pop up on more people's phones and
Mm-hmm.
going on.
That's and we don't have to get into this. That's a whole nother topic. But like, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable,
Yeah.
and we don't have to get into that. In
But-
school, how could the church help? Student pastors, ministries. How could the church help for kids to be more effective, for students to be better gospel spoken kids? Like, how could the church help?
Honestly, I know it's a really good example, and it is. I'm going to shine a light on Indian Springs, is because right now Indian Springs, they don't have I don't think their core youth group is as big as ours, but their daily or their Wednesday night group that comes is about 3 times as big as ours.
Well, I'll
And-
tell you this right now. Half the kids that go to that youth group are in my friend group. They're not going for church.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
That's a whole nother topic too.
And so they're going, but they put on, Indian Springs doesn't put on big events. They just have a bunch of kids that, to wrap everything up, they use social media. It's all over. Like all my friends' Snapchats and all their stories and all that. It's all, every Wednesday is be at church, be at Indian Springs,
Okay.
6
It's
o'clock.
the same thing
And
with
they're-
First Baptist too.
Yeah, and they're putting it out there, and they're doing really good at getting people there. But then once they're there, it's a whole other story of how they handle people being
So
there.
for Gen
But
Zs, their social media game's on point.
They Indian Springs is doing a good job as far as getting people there,
Yeah.
honestly. And Indian Springs holds, from what I can tell, about 75% of Bryant School's church population.
Yeah.
They really do. So
For
I
the
mean,
kids that go to church.
and yes, and all the kids that go there they're not the coolest kids in schools,
Yeah.
but they're the most level-headed kids in school that got
and
it
this is
figured
something
out.
we have to remember is like, even if you add up all the churches, First Baptist, probably one of the biggest youth ministries here in Benton, they have on a Wednesday night maybe have 200 kids in
Yeah.
their high school ministry or junior high, give or take, whatever. That's the biggest. We on a good night have 50, and all these other churches, add them all up, right?
Mhm.
But in your grade alone, how many people are there?
Close to 1,000.
Right? And so
Yeah.
that's just 10th grade at Bryant High School.
Just 10th grade, yeah.
Just 10th grade at Bryant High School. We got Benton, Bauxite, Harmony Grove, Bryant. You add up all those
Well,
kids.
Benton, Bauxite, and Harmony Grove. If you put all those together, that's like one grade at Bryant.
Right. But still, like, you add up all those kids, how many kids aren't in church?
Probably 80% of the kids.
It's
Yeah.
a lot, right?
Yeah. Which, yeah, down here, like we were talking about earlier, the Bible Belt or the church belt,
Yeah.
that's not a big number, and it's not too small of a number. It's kind of on point.
Which, and we don't have to get in we don't have to get in the culture of church and everything, but like, a lot of kids don't know, like, what is church on Wednesday night?
Yeah,
Like,
'cause
what is that?
right now at Bryant, it really is more of a let's go hang out at church, because church is a good place and we can go over there and not do bad stuff. We can just go over there and hang out because there's a lot of people going, and it really is. Wednesday night church at Indian Springs is popular.
Yeah.
It is, because kids are like, every Wednesday night, they're like, bring your silliest outfit. We're having color wars tonight
Yeah.
or whatever. So it's popular and kids go to hang out.
Well, Eli, we'll start with you as we wrap up the episode. How can people pray for students in school? There can be areas. It don't have to be a specific reason, but
Better listening skills, like for real. Listen.
for kids to listen.
Listen. Don't.
Don't hear. Listen.
Whenever you're talking to somebody, or whenever somebody's talking to you, then listen. Don't be thinking about your next argument.
Yeah.
That's what my dad always tells
Ooh,
me.
That's a good one.
What about you, Layton? How can people pray?
Praying for kids at school. I think it.
Yeah, if there's somebody listening to this podcast at 60 and it's like, I want to pray for students at school, how could they pray for you?
I think it's really just giving, praying for kids to have wisdom, honestly, because it takes a little bit of wisdom to look at somebody who is way off the tracks of the church or whatever, and you obviously see it, and instead of thinking or even saying anything about it, you just have the wisdom to step back and go, okay, I understand where they're at. Even though I've never been there, I can see where they're coming from, and what am I going to do to even just encourage them to even take a different step? So I'd say wisdom, probably.
Yeah, I
Pray
think
for
those
wisdom.
are two things that I think are obviously so far gone from teenagers' minds, is to be able to listen to people and be able to understand people.
Because it's instinct to look at somebody and you see 12 things that's wrong with them before you ever see one good thing about them. Even I do it, because it's that easy, because it's culture has shifted so much.
And that can go so far into witness into somebody.
Yeah.
Just that right there. Hey, well, thanks for joining us today. We are, after this conversation, we already have like 4 more podcast ideas. But thanks for listening today. We hope you enjoyed and that we all continue on the mission of following Jesus, loving others, and reaching the lost.
Have a great day and ba-da-ba-ba-ba.